US of A in the 1800s. Somehow through the generations, the women all managed to retain the distinct red hair and green eyes of our Irish homeland. My freckles, though, are hidden under a spell my dad bought me for my 13th birthday. He had the tiny amulet put into a pinky ring. I never leave home without it. A sigh slipped from me as I tugged my bag back up onto my shoulder. The leather pants, red ankle boots, and the spaghetti strap halter weren't too far from what I usually wore on casual Fridays to tick off my boss, but put them on a street corner at night? Crap, I muttered to Jenks. I look like a hooker. His only response was a snort. I forced myself not to react as I turned back to the bar. It was too rainy for the early crowd, and apart from my backup and the ladies down the way, the street was empty. I'd been standing out here nearly an hour with no sign of my mark. I might as well go in and wait. Besides, if I were inside, I might look like a solicitee rather than a solicitor. Taking a resolute breath, I pulled a few strands of my shoulder-length curls from my topknot, took a moment to arrange it artfully to fall about my face, and finally spit out my gum. The click of my boots made a snappy counterpoint to the jangling of the handcuffs pinned to my hip as I strode across the wet street and into the bar. The steel rings looked like a tawdry prop, but they were real and very well used. I winced. No wonder Mr. One-Eyebrow had stopped. Used for work, thank you, and not the kind you're thinking of. Still, I'd been sent to the Hollows in the rain to collar a leprechaun for tax evasion. How much lower, I wondered, could I sink? It must have been from tagging that seeing eye dog last week. How was I supposed to know it wasn't a werewolf? It matched the description I'd been given. As I stood in the narrow foyer shaking off the damp, I ran my gaze over the typical Irish bar crap. Long-stemmed pipes stuck to the wall, green beer signs, black vinyl seats, and a tiny stage where a wannabe star was setting up his dulcimers and bagpipes amid a tower of amps. There was a whiff of contraband brimstone. My predatory instincts stirred. It smelled 3 days old, not strong enough to track. If I could nail the supplier, I'd be off my boss's hit list. He might even give me something worth my talents.
"Hey,"
grunted a low voice.
"You Tobby's replacement?"
Brimstone dismissed, I batted my eyes and turned, coming eye to chest with a bright green t-shirt. My eyes traveled up a huge bear of a man. Bouncer material. The name on the shirt said Cliff. It fit. Who? I purred, blotting the rain from what I generously call my cleavage with the hem of his shirt. He was completely unaffected. It was depressing.
"Tobby, state-assigned hooker. She ever gonna show up again?"
From my earring came a tiny sing-song voice. I told you so. My smile grew forced. I don't know, I said through my teeth. I'm not a hooker. He grunted again, eyeing my outfit. I pawed through my bag and handed him my work ID. Anyone watching would assume he was carding me. With readily available age-disguising spells, it was mandatory, as was the spell-check amulet he had around his neck. It glowed a faint red in response to my pinky ring. He wouldn't do a full check on me for that, which was why all the charms in my bag were currently uninvoked. Not that I'd need them tonight. "Indolent security," I said as he took the card. "I'm on a run to find someone, not harass your regular clientele. That's why the, disguise."
"Rachel Morgan,"
he read aloud, his thick fingers almost enveloping the laminated card.
"Indolent security runner. You're an IS runner?"
He looked from my card to me and back, his fat lips splitting in a grin.
"What happened to your hair? Run into a blowtorch?"
My lips pressed together. The picture was 3 years old. It hadn't been a blowtorch. It had been a practical joke. An informal initiation into my full runner status. Real funny. The pixie darted from my earring, setting it swinging with his momentum. "I'd watch your mouth," he said, tilting his head as he looked at my ID. "The last lunker who laughed at her picture spent the night in the emergency room with a drink umbrella jammed up his nose." I warmed. "You know about that?" I said, snatching my card and shoving it away. "Everybody in appropriations knows about that." The pixie laughed merrily. "And trying to tag that were with an itch spell and losing him in the John? You try bringing in a were that close to a full moon without getting bit," I said defensively. "It's not as easy as it sounds."